Om Shanti. Good evening. Welcome to the evening session of this retreat. Hope you all got enough rest in the afternoon. Hope you had the chance to do a little bit of that activity. I would like to call it homework. Yeah, with that activity. If you got the chance, great. If you didn't, that's perfectly fine too. You can do it later in the evening, and then tomorrow we can share what each one has done. You're welcome to share it in the larger group. And if not this weekend, you can continue this activity next weekend, next week, wherever, whenever you can do it, if you want to. This was just something for you to engage in. Yeah, and it's good to do these activities. Sometimes it kind of makes things clearer for us. But for those who had some time to contemplate on the things we discussed in the morning, if you have something to ask or say, um, we can spend a couple of minutes doing that. And then we can start our evening session. Everyone's good? Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
The visualization process. If one person does it to heal another person, like suppose I do it to heal him, how does it have any effect at all?
No, it
In
does. It does.
addition to, I'm sorry, but in addition to the person doing it, suppose I do it.
Yeah, for sure. There is an effect. There's this whole thing about something called as distant intentionality and transpersonal imagery, and which we have seen um, in the context of the Brahma Kumari's Raj Yoga meditation as well, that our intentions are so powerful, so tremendously powerful if we make them powerful. That's the first important step. Then we can create enough energy to heal ourselves, but we can then allow that healing energy to spread from us into the world out there. And it can be focused on one or two people around us, one or two communities around us, or the world at large. So, yes, it will help. But also, in all of these things, there's another thing to be understood is how much the other person is receiving it or is able to receive it. Yeah. See, if think of it as a radio tower or a television tower. Yeah. And could we mute everyone, Kanishta? Yeah. May I request all of you to mute yourself and yeah. Okay.
Can you please make me co-host?
Yes, I will. Thank you. There you go. Yeah, so just like a TV tower or radio tower, even if it's extremely powerful, if the radio is not working well, then it won't be able to catch any of the yeah, radio waves. Making sense? So the radio has to be good too. In other words, there has to be some degree of synchronicity between you and the person you're trying to heal. Yeah. And if there is, yeah, then things can definitely work. And there was one question, I guess, in the morning. It was asked about can it work in negative sense too? Like curses and things like that. It might, but important thing is, it's like when we create any type of energy, positive and or negative, then the first entity, if you will, that gets affected by that energy is us. So even if, say, think of it for a moment that one person, a person, created some negative thought, negative energy for someone else. Yeah, you can call it as a curse or bad intention or however you want to say it. Now, before that energy goes to the other person, if it goes, if it's powerful enough, who is it affecting first? Who does it have to go through? Right? Us. So this is something we have to understand. So similarly, if we sometimes have this feeling, I have known people who don't think good about others because they're jealous about others. That if I think good health for other person, that person will, or good prosperity or happiness, that person will become more prosperous, more healthy, more happy than me. But when I'm creating positive energy for the other person, again, who is it going to go through first as it goes to the other us? So we serve ourselves or damage ourselves. Both things happen at the same time, uh, depending on what energy we are creating. Make sense? Does that answer everyone's questions? Yeah. All right. And that's why we usually don't go too much into these negative aspects. And since the question was asked, I wanted to honor that question and respond. Yeah. All right. We have thought enough negative, right? So far in our lives. Our lives have been drenched in negativity, worries, stresses, tensions, thinking negative about others. Somebody did something to us 100 years back. We still hold on to that. And that may have been something as silly as that person didn't respond to my phone call, my text message, didn't smile back at me when I smiled. Something as ridiculously simple as that. And yet we hold on to it forever and ever and ever. Right? So these negative energies destroy us, and eventually this disease on the body gets manifested, and we find ourselves in a state of suffering, which was not necessary at all. Yeah, so the same intentions, the same negative energy that, or let's not say negative energy, same energy that created the disease of the body can now be used in the right way to create healing for the body. This is exactly what quantum healing is, nothing bigger than this. Yeah, but then what happens is we are so stereotypical in the ways we think and do things is every now and then we go back to our old things and old processes, old belief systems, old ways of behaving with others and ourselves. So we keep going back to that old one. Yeah, and that's why visualization helps. And so just to summarize all that we have talked about so far, now I'm going to go into the next session that is about death and dying. Yeah, let's go to the first slide. Right, and let me give a little bit of background about this. I have presented this session a few times in different places. And the reason why I got so fascinated by this topic is because long back, I remember when I was in medical school, I would see a lot of deaths. Back in India, I was doing my medical school. I was studying in a smaller town, which was very close to a lot of villages, and so a lot of poor people used to come to that hospital where I did the medical school. And I would see, because of lack of resources and all, a lot of people would die. And in a way, the way the hospital was set up was that the mortuary was on the way towards the boys' hostel where I used to live. And so every now and then we would see dead bodies being taken to the mortuary. And somewhere, I developed an intense sense of fear for about death, not necessarily for myself but for my family members, because at that time I had so much of attachment to my family members that I would sometimes have dreams of seeing them at the same mortuary, and then I would wake up in cold sweat, in the middle of the night, and was having really hard time going back to sleep at those times. It was almost like a crippling feeling. Let me also take this on Facebook. I guess I didn't realize that I didn't go on Facebook Live. So give me a moment. And so then over time, I got connected with the Brahma Kumaris and started doing the Raj Yoga meditation, which I've been doing for the past 20 years, me and Kanishta together. And a lot of this fear went away. And going from a state of crippling fear to a state where I feel as if I have understood death quite a bit, and have been able to not just get rid of the fear of death for myself, but have been able to help people around me. Also, I realized that so many people who come to us in the hospital setting, and as a cardiac anesthesiologist, as an intensivist, I would see people dying. And I realized that unless I have understood death and I've processed death very clearly in my mind, I won't be able to help them through their fear of death either. Hence, this whole understanding over the past several years, I have researched this quite a bit. I've studied this quite a bit. I have thought about it, contemplated, reflected, and then this presentation was the result of all that effort. Yeah, so let me share this video. Maybe I'll share this video later. Uh, One sec. So let me go to the fear of death. Yeah. Yeah, does no fear of death also means that you have overcome detachment, or overcome attachment? Yes, both of them work very close to each other. So if you, I wouldn't say that I have overcome attachment completely, nor can I say that I have overcome fear of death completely, but I have been able to process it quite a bit. And I feel that it's important that all of us at least understand a little bit of death. And if I can help you free yourself from at least some part of this fear of death, then I've done service. That's what I feel. And that's why this presentation. Yeah, so really speaking, if you break this fear of death down into its various components, you realize that earlier, in fact, I had only four. But then when I did these sessions over the past several months, I realized that there are two more fears of death that people who participated shared with me. So the first fear of death is fear of the uncertainty of what lies after death. Yeah, so what is going to happen? Am I going to be born as a human being again? Am I going to be born as an animal, as an insect? Or am I going to be suspended somewhere in either? Yeah, and I'll have no way, no place to go. Will I go to heaven? Will I go to hell? Yeah, what's going to happen? Will I even take rebirth? Is it good to take rebirth? And so on and so forth. So there is a lot of fear of uncertainty of what lies after death. Then the fear of the pain and or suffering during the actual process of our death and our loved ones' death. What would happen at the moment of dying, or the few hours, a few days before that? Will there be a lot of suffering? Will there be a lot of pain? Then the third one is fear of leaving loved ones behind, and the fear and the concern of their well-being. Yeah, if the say the husband is the only earning member in the family and he has a wife and kids, then what will happen to them? Who will take care of them? And another type of fear is fear of what will happen to us when our loved one dies. So this feeling the wife may have, what will happen when the husband dies? Yeah, I'll be lonely. I'll have no one to take care of me. And the fifth is the fear of not achieving anything substantial before dying. So everyone has a desire to do something, yeah, meaningful. Yeah, whatever that could be. That could be success in careers, have a family, live the American dream, whatever it is. And not being able to achieve that before dying is another fear. And then now in the coronavirus uh, um, situation where so many patients are left to die on their own in the hospitals. Their family members are not allowed to be with them. And fear of dying alone is something which is really tangible for many people. Yeah, I'm sure you have heard of these different situations where uh, some person couldn't couldn't have any of the family members next to him or her because the hospital wouldn't allow them to come, and so they died alone. All right, so think of it this way, that somewhere when we process these fears of death, then we can live a very meaningful life. You see, constantly it seems as if for many people that, I don't know if you've heard about the Greek mythological story of the sword of Damocles. Yeah, where this person used to sleep every day with a sword hanging from the ceiling. The ceiling was pretty high, and the sword was pretty sharp and heavy. Yeah, and it was tied to the ceiling with just one strand of his own hair. So any day that hair can break, any day that sword can come down, yeah, and kill him. So this is how we live our lives. It's this constant fear, constant anxiety, which doesn't allow us to live our lives meaningfully and purposefully. So if we are able to process all of these fears, yeah, and understand death completely, then we will be able to live our lives much more meaningfully. Yeah, I think some people have joined. Uh, Kanishka, if you could take care of the waiting room, I'll appreciate that. Yeah, so
Yeah,
here,
admitted.
yeah, so here is, somewhere in Europe, I am not sure where exactly, there's this beautiful painting on the wall. It's a pretty long painting, pretty big one, which is called as the Dance of Death. And I don't know how to really pronounce this, Dance Macabre or Macabre, but it shows that um, it shows uh, a beggar, a minister, a priest, a rich person, yeah, even a king. All of them have to die, all of them marching towards death, all of them dancing the dance of death. So what that means is everyone has to die, no matter what. We all have to die. Yeah, but in a way to understand that death is, although the most important truth, the ultimate truth for all of us, but at the same time, it is also the ultimate lie. And I'll explain how that is in a little bit. So there is another very important um, poem, if you will, by one of the Indian ancient mystics. I'll read this to you, which is very similar to the dance of death. And in Hindi, for those who are from India, will understand it very easily. It says, "Aaye hain so jayenge, Raja rang fakir, ek singhasan chadi chale, ek bandhe jat janjeer." Which means that we are all born to die. We all have to die, whether we are kings, whether we are beggars or holy men. Yeah, so um, um, I hai so jayenge, Raja rang fakir. Raja is king, rang is beggar, and fakir is holy man. And then our deeds decide whether we leave this world sitting atop a throne or a chariot, or be dragged away by chains. Singhasan means throne, chariot, and Janjeer means chains. So what that means is that our actions will determine how our death would be. Yeah, so death is dependent on the way we live our lives today. Yeah, and this takes us to the art of dying. There is a whole lot of um, things written even in Christianity, and there are a couple of texts in Christianity called as Ars Moriendi. You can look it up, called as the art of dying, and it explains how we can actually master this art of dying. Now think about it. If an athlete has to go to Olympics and he is maybe going for a 100-meter race or javelin throw or whatever it may be, the countless number of hours they practice for that, don't they? Right? To be able to do very well at the time when they are asked to perform. Now, similarly, we know that all of us are going to die. Then is it possible for us to master that dying, that act of dying? Is it possible for us to practice it while we are living in such a way that when dying happens, it happens in the most meaningful way, in the most beautiful way? Yeah, who wouldn't want a beautiful death, right? But how do we define a beautiful death? Yeah, many people, when I ask them, how would you like to die? They say, I would love to die when going to sleep and not waking up in the morning, right? In my sleep. There's some people who say, I would love to die while meditating. Then there are some I've heard who say, I would love to die while serving other people. But everyone hopes that they can die quickly, painlessly, effortlessly. But if we want that kind of death, whatever kind of death you are hoping you'll have, there has to be something you'll have to do for that, right? Even if you go and buy a car, you want a good car for yourself, you do some homework to get yourself that car, right? You will go to different dealers, you'll try different models, you'll try different companies, yeah, and eventually decide on a car which works best for you. So similarly, whatever type of death you want, you have to work your way through it, right? Agree? All right. So I'm going to now switch into near-death experiences, because there's a lot to understand from people who have had a death kind of experience, quote unquote, death experience, and they came back to relate what they experienced. You think of it, somebody who has died and doesn't come back, he won't have the opportunity to share with us what exactly transpires when a person dies. Right? Only these near-death experiences can give us that insight. And there have been countless documented stories of near-death experiences. And I'll share with you, there's a very famous cardiologist, a Dutch cardiologist, Pim van Lommel, who did a clinical study on quite a few cardiac surgical patients. In fact, he was kind of anti all of the spirituality kind of things, but suddenly he came to know through someone that some of his cardiac patients had who coded, who died, and he would resuscitate them, and 64 of them had NDE. That's a fair proportion. And in fact, you think of it, when all of the data that we have so far that has been compiled, there is actually a website where you can go and read and look at all the data that's available. It is estimated that almost 25 million people around the world in the past 50 years have had a near-death experience. What does that mean? That they would kind of die, but then they wouldn't really die, and they would come back to the body. Yeah. So what have they experienced? There is this book by, uh, somehow this thing comes in the way. So the doctor, the cardiologist, Pim van Lommel, wrote this book, Consciousness Beyond Life, The Science of the Near-Death Experience. And there are many different experiences that he has shared that people related to him. And so one of which is, enveloped by light, people experience total acceptance and unconditional love, and have access to a deep knowledge and wisdom, indescribable clarity and insight. Think of it. I'm going to repeat this. Enveloped by light, people experience total acceptance and unconditional love and have access to a deep knowledge and wisdom. There's indescribable clarity and insight. Then someone else shared the pinnacle of everything there is of energy, of love, especially of warmth and of beauty. Yeah. Then yet another experience. It seemed as if time and distance didn't exist. I was everywhere at once, and sometimes my attention was focused on something, and I was there too. You see, you are at one place, but you're also everywhere. Then someone else said, I asked if God was the light, and the answer was no, God is not the light, but the light is what happens when God breathes. Someone else said, I think death is a real nasty bad lie. On return, a single loving thought would let me be part of the whole again. All right. And someone else described, I went through this dark black vacuum at super speed. You could compare it to a tunnel. I saw a bright light, and on my way there, I heard beautiful music and I saw colors I had never seen before. The light was of a kind that I had never seen before, and that differs from any other kind. Um, just want to make sure, is it being shared on Facebook? Kanishta, would you be kind enough to check? Because I don't know if it is being shared. I don't think so. For some reason, it didn't go. Yeah, it's not going on Facebook. Something is wrong with this whole thing. Let me check. Yeah. Yeah, go live. Let me click on this. Go live anyways. One second. I think I should wait for it to go, redirecting to the Facebook live page. Yeah, finally it's gone. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, thank you. So I went through this dark black vacuum at super speed. You could compare it to a tunnel. I saw a bright light, and on my way there, I heard beautiful music, and I saw colors I'd never seen before. The light was of a kind that I had never seen before, and that differs from any other kind, such as sunlight. It was white and extremely bright, and yet you could easily look at it. It is the pinnacle of everything there is, of energy, of love, especially of warmth, of beauty. I was immersed in a feeling of total love. Then this was a book written by a neurosurgeon who had a very bad infection of the brain and spinal cord and almost lost his life, or in a way he lost his life. Yeah, he ended up dying and then coming back. And so he wrote this book, Proof of Heaven, a neurosurgeon's journey into the afterlife. And he writes, I was encountering the reality of a world of consciousness that existed completely free of the limitations of my physical brain. My experience showed me that the death of the body and the brain are not the end of consciousness. And then who doesn't know about this story? Anita Moorjani's story, right? Who wrote Dying to Be Me. I want to share a little bit about her. So she was a normal person, yeah, like you and me, living her life. She was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, I guess, and she ended up with big tumors all over her body. And she eventually ended up with failure of multiple organ systems, found herself on life support, and the doctors said that nothing can be done. They told her family that they will have to eventually withdraw life care, and she needs to go because her kidneys had stopped working and other organ systems had also stopped working. But then she had this experience of out of body and afterlife kind of experience. And then she came back and she describes what really happened. And when she came back, suddenly, within few hours, few days, her body started to recover. Her organs started, the organ system started to function up to par, yeah, automatically very soon. And she was taken off life support, And over the next couple of weeks, her tumors completely vanished, and she was totally cured of her non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So what she wrote is, I continued to sense myself expanding further and further outward, drawing away from my physical surroundings. I was as though it was as though I was no longer restricted by the confines of space and time, and continued to spread myself out to occupy a greater expanse of consciousness. I simultaneously experienced a sense of joy mixed with a generous sprinkling of jubilation and happiness. And then I was overwhelmed by the realization that God isn't a being, but a state of being. And I was now in that state of being. Yeah, so you've heard all these stories. I can go on and share hundreds more. But rather, what I would like to do is to bring to you the commonalities of all of these stories. And what has been seen is that despite there no flow to the brain, a flat EEG, yeah, that's the electrical activity of the brain, all of these cases described a crystal clear consciousness, crystal clear. Yeah, a realistic out of body experience was common for all. A feeling of overwhelming love and peace, tremendous ecstasy, meeting spiritual beings, a panoramic life view to be able to see what happened through their lives and even their past lives sometimes. God, yeah, so some sort of encounter with God or some sort of deeper understanding of God. Unlimited knowledge, a realm where all knowledge exists. Yeah, they found themselves being able to access that. All of them were, or most of them were shown the future. Many of them describe, most of them really describe a tunnel encountering a bright light or a being of light. So what has been seen that these NDEs become a major life transition. And they found that after that, people have a reduction in fear of death, yeah, if not complete elimination of the fear of death. The focus changes from a preoccupation with death to here and now. The sense of relative invulnerability, a strong belief in continued existence, a significant shift towards spirituality, changes in values, priorities towards love and caring for others, going from egocentric to other-centered consciousness, tendency to love unconditionally and increase empathy, decreased interest in status symbols and materialistic lifestyles. So you see anything wrong in any of these? Anything you believe that a person should not have? Yeah. Anything bad in any of these things? Yeah, no, right? Clearly, such wonderful things. Why do we need a near-death experience for us to be able to change from being materialistic and having interest in status symbols to learn to love unconditionally and have empathy for others, to love others from a very caring point of view, to not be preoccupied with death, but be able to focus on here and now and so on and so forth. Why do we need a near-death experience? But yeah, think of it. A near-death experience helped these people have that kind of a change in their values, change in the way they look at life. Yeah. And even from a medical perspective, I want to say that I have had the privilege to see a lot of people dying, not just in my family, but actually patients, because as an intensivist, sometimes I used to, as an intensivist, had to make the decision to even pull the plug, you know, if the patient is not recovering, if it is futile to continue medical care, then we have to make the decision to what we call as pulling the plug, that is switching off the ventilator and letting the patients die. So I have realized after so many encounters with death that irrespective of who it is, I've seen criminals die, I've seen murderers die, I've seen rapists die, I've seen Yeah, good people die. But in a way, I really want to say that I have seen that the last moments for all, irrespective of how they die, irrespective of what their life was before death, they all die peacefully. Yeah, there is a lot of peace on the face. Yeah, there could have been some pain, so it is possible that, say, a criminal got shot, yeah, when the police was trying to capture him, and he's brought to the hospital, we try to take care of him, and he still dies. Yeah, so it is possible there was some pain as the gunshot wound, happened for that person. But as the person is dying, I've seen invariably, however the person was, whatever the person did, they still die peacefully. So hopefully that is enough of reassurance for all of you who have that fear in your mind that death could be painful. Yeah, so really speaking, in a way, death is the culmination of pain, if there is. So why are we afraid of death? In fact, really speaking, rather than fearing death, we need to fear life where there is pain. Death is a liberation for pain, from pain for all of us. So here now, having said this, I want to take us through what I have learned over the past 20 years with my association with the Brahma Kumaris and the body of knowledge, the practice of the type of meditation that Brahma Kumaris teaches, which is called as Raj Yoga meditation. And the first and the foremost thing that we understand is the body soul paradigm, some of which was mentioned in the earlier sessions, that we have to understand that there are these two dimensions of our existence, the physical and the spiritual. But to understand that we are not physical beings, we are spiritual beings, we are souls that have a physical experience, rather than we are physical beings who sometimes have a spiritual experience. Yeah, makes sense? So if you see yourself as soul, if you see yourself as energy, energy cannot be destroyed, cannot really be created either. So it's energy. Energy always exists. It only changes its form. So that takes us into the aspect of, in a way, immortality, and eternality. That we always existed, we will always exist. And if I am a soul, everyone around me is a soul. Each of you is a soul. My family members are souls too. My brothers, my sisters, my spouse, my children, my parents, whoever it is, we all are souls. So if I'm eternal, I'm immortal, I cannot die. The soul is energy. If you remember, if you when we talked about the quantum physics, the quantum world, in that, all of us, all of matter actually exists really as information, as energy. So we are all just energy. And so how can we die really? The body may perish, which is fine. Your body is merely a costume, merely a tent, merely an apartment that we have taken on lease. And we let go of this body, we go on to take the next one. Yeah, this is an important thing to understand. This is the fundamental understanding that is needed to be able to conquer the fear of death, to be able to actually master the art of dying. Yeah, if you can't die, then there is no death. And if there is no death, then there's no fear of death. Make sense? Are you all with me? Yeah. Now let's go further into the understanding of the time aspect. You see, in the West, we are so in tuned into thinking that time is linear, that we kind of go from being a child to an adult to old age and then we die. But the truth of the matter is that time is not linear. Time is cyclical. That's why we call it as human life cycle. We call the day-night change as cycle too, right? In a way, it's all circadian rhythms that the body follows all the times. And circadian rhythms also follow cyclical patterns. Yeah, even you look at seasons, seasons have a cyclical pattern. Everything really works in cycles. So if a child is born, will grow old, yeah, mature, eventually grow old and then die. But then what happens? uh, uh, the child will be born again, because it is not the human body that gives rise to human body. If you look at this word human being, the human word comes from the word humus, that is soil, and the body comes from the soil, but the being is the life force, the energy that goes from one body to the next in a cyclical pattern. So if you understand this for yourself, you understand this for everyone around you. So we all live through cycles. We never really die. We leave our physical bodies, one body, then we go to the next, to the next, to the next. Now, here is sometimes a question that people have. Would I go into an animal body? Would I go into a life of an insect, a fish, an amphibian, a reptile? But that's not true. You understand this as the soul is the seed for the tree of this body, if you will. Yeah, so just like an apple seed will give rise to an apple tree, a mango seed to a mango tree, a human soul is different from an animal soul, and human soul gives rise to a human lifetime. Yeah, and then to future human lifetimes. The human soul can never create an animal life cycle. Yeah, animal life cycle would be a dog life. The soul of a dog would give rise to a dog life cycle. Yeah, and so on and so forth. So if there is any fear, I hope there was not, about this misunderstanding that we could end up as animals in our future lifetimes. See what has happened in organized religion. This aspect has been spoken of many times, and the reason for that is to create at least a little bit of fear for in people's minds, that they should not waste that their lives. This human life is very precious. We are indeed very privileged, and it is important that we use this time in a meaningful way, serving others, taking care of what God wants us to take care of, in this world, in this lifetime. But some people choose to waste it in mundane things, in partying, which is up to you, whatever you want to do. But in general, I'm not saying not to party or anything, but in so many mundane things that people waste their lives in. So to deter that, organized religion has created this kind of fear that you do the best you can in this lifetime, because it is very possible that in the next lifetime you could end up as an animal. Yeah, but that's not really true. Now, also to understand, I'll come to more things about how this human to animal concept has transpired over centuries in organized religion. But anyways, let's understand the human body a little bit. It's a mystery in itself. There are about 40 trillion cells in the body. Yeah, that's a huge number.
Before
One,
to
yeah,
that, there is one question that has come here in the chat box.
yeah,
Can we be released from the cycle of rebirth?
yeah. So yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah, thank you for that question. At the end, we'll talk about that. I appreciate that question. So, you see, 40 trillion cells. 1 trillion is 1,000 billion, and 1 billion is 1,000 million. Yeah, so see the number of cells. So it's a factory in itself. Yeah, this human body is a community in itself. Is a world in itself. Yeah, and in fact, you can even call it as a universe in itself. And would you believe it if I said that 300 million cells die every minute in your body? And if I calculate that per day, it is 432 billion cells in your body that die every single day. That is 2.6% of your body is replaced every single day, which means that your entire body gets replaced roughly every 40 days. So in any case, you, if you want to look at it that way, you have died every 40 days. Your entire body gets replaced. See, we are so attached to our bodies, right? My body. Yeah, I want it to look pretty. I want it to look young. I want to look it to look great. Yeah, fresh, happy, everything. Yeah, but think of it, this body gets replaced every 40 days. And in a way, I'll take this even further. These atoms, yeah, so the cells are made up of molecules. Molecules are made up of atoms. Atoms are made up of these tiny subatomic particles. And these subatomic particles, these atoms, move in and out every time we breathe. So there is oxygen that we take in, and there's carbon dioxide that we breathe out. Now, this carbon dioxide also has an oxygen molecule, but all this is the byproduct of all the metabolism that's happening in each cell of our body. Yeah, and so many atoms from our body come out with each breath. Maybe billions, trillions of atoms come out every moment. Yeah, every second, with every breath that we take, we give out. And this breath is taken by somebody else. So all of those cells, or not cells really, but the atoms and the subatomic particles that came out of your body now go in somebody else's body. So we are constantly in this dynamic flux, yeah, where we are constantly exchanging our atoms and even our molecules. So see, yeah, in a way, we sometimes want, we think that we are better than others and we don't respect others. So think of it, the next time you don't have respect for someone, yeah, maybe because of their culture, maybe because of their belief systems, maybe because of the way they behave, yeah, you could be carrying a good fraction of their atoms in your body at this time. Yeah, and in a way we are so interconnected, because as we give out these atoms, they can go into the entire universe, and somebody living on the other side of the planet could take those atoms from you. So then there could be an exchange, of his atoms to your body too. Yeah, so going further, there is a very beautiful saying by a Greek philosopher. um, his name is Heraclitus. He was born in the 6th BC, and he said, "You cannot step into the same river twice." That is, no man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he is not the same man. Think about it. It's really deep. Yeah, because life is constantly bringing new experiences for us every moment. If you remember, we had talked about how many billion bits of information is coming to us. Although we take only a fraction of it and internalize it, but still think of so many experiences every minute, every second. Are we the same person who we were a moment back? Yeah, in a way, we are dying every moment and being reborn every moment. Yeah. If think of it, an Olympics athlete, every moment of his life is spending doing something that he's going to eventually perform in the Olympics. How good he will become. Yeah, if he's doing that race, 100-meter dash, or if it's a javelin throw or whatever it is, if he does it every second, he'll become super good at it. He'll definitely get the gold medal there. So if we are doing this again and again, every second, every moment, then shouldn't we get good at it? Yeah, the problem is we are not doing it consciously. Every moment, if you think, how much change is happening in you, in the physical body. Yeah, think of it when you're eating food. Yeah, the atoms from that apple that you're eating, that apple could have come from Asia, or somewhere else, Canada, somewhere in South America. And those atoms are now going into your body. And there are billions of atoms with every bite of the apple that is going in to your body. You're not the same person. With each bite, you're a different person. And then all this information, all the experiences that you're having, you're not the same person for sure, right? Now, this law of karma, that needs to be understood too. That when we do good actions, we receive the benefit of those good actions. Right, Kanishka, are you there with us? Would you like to take this part, the law of karma? I don't know if you are right there, ready or not. Would you like to talk about the law of karma? I guess not. You might be busy. So yeah, so law of karma. This is important to understand. Karma means action. Action means that when I say something, I think something, or actually when I do an action too, yeah, all of these are actions in a way. Karma is merely action. So if I do a good action, I get the benefit of that action. Yeah? If I do a wrong action, I get the punishment, if you will. I don't want to use the word punishment because that then takes us back to organized religion. But it's almost like whatever seed you sow is the tree or the fruit that you're going to reap or harvest. Yeah. And that's how our actions then eventually cause the domino effect that you're seeing here. So we are all very connected. My actions influence others, others' actions influence me. And eventually it creates a ripple effect. The actions go out and then comes back to me. And if you see here, this man is doing this thing, right? He's pushing one of the dominoes. And what's happening? Eventually is going around, and that last domino is going to come crashing on him and kill him. That's the ripple effect. Whatever goes around comes around. So if I want my future lifetimes, yeah, right? If you've understood this now, that when we leave our bodies, yeah, and go to another lifetime, we will be going into a human birth. But what kind of birth would that be? Would that be a happy birth? Would that be a good family? Would I be prosperous? Would I have good health? And so on and so forth. What will that be dependent on? Right? Yeah, you remember one of the types of fears of death was the fear of what will happen after death. Yeah, if I go into the next lifetime, will I be happy, healthy, prosperous? Will I have good family? So on and so forth. That is the fear that many people have. But if I do the right actions now, if I am kind and compassionate and loving and respectful to everyone, if I extend my hand of support to everyone, what will happen? I'm creating good karma. And that domino effect will come back to me as wonderful karma, multiplied times so many different, make it almost exponential. Yeah, and that will come back to me to help me. But on the other hand, if I do negative actions, if I'm selfish, I'm constantly just thinking about how things can benefit me, if I'm unkind, unprofessional, disrespectful, yeah. In other words, if I'm what we call as in Brahma Kumari's Raj Yoga meditation, if I'm in body consciousness versus soul consciousness, if I'm engaged constantly in this physical dimension of my existence versus being engaged in the spiritual dimension of my existence. So here, if you remember, there is limitedness all the time, and there is constant change. So when you are stuck here, then there is fear, fear upon fear. Yeah, and that fear then generates these different actions that we perform, which are less than worthy. But on the other hand, yeah, what happens is if you are in the spiritual consciousness, you feel the unlimited, you feel eternality, and you experience your own immortality, and you feel as if you have enough, you're more than enough. Actually, you feel a sense of abundance, and you want to give to others, you want to serve others. And so think of it, which is a better consciousness? How can I go from this state to this state? Yeah, it's a matter of thought. It's a matter of belief. It's a matter of understanding. This is not going to give me anything. It's only going to reap sorrow for me. This is going to reap happiness for me. So if I want my future life to be wonderful, but not just future life, if I want my present life to be great, I have to do great things. And if my present life is good, my death will also be good. Yeah, makes sense? See, understand that death is merely a reflection of the life that we have led. If we have not lived a good life, our death cannot be very pleasant either. Yeah, what do we want? Clearly, we want a very pleasant life and a pleasant death. But I have to do something in order to have a pleasant life and a pleasant death. I have to do the right thing. And that's what the law of karma really talks about. All right. And so, yeah, and then here it's also important to understand that we need to have trust in the forces of the universe. Yeah, there is an intelligence far bigger than we can appreciate, we can understand. And think of it, you are here now. Isn't that a miracle in itself? You're alive now at this time. There could have been 1 billion things that could have killed you or could have given you less than a pleasant experience. Yeah, but you are here and you have a pleasant experience. You have a roof over your head, you have food to eat, you have clothes of different types to wear, maybe 5 6 pairs of shoes at minimum, yeah, or even more. Yeah. So the universe is taking care of each one of us in some way or the other. It has taken care of us so far, yeah, with very little contribution from us. Think of it, you were born. Yeah, did you do anything to help yourself be born? Yeah, there was somebody who pulled you out, right? Somebody who immediately put a warm cloth over you, cleaned you up, helped you breathe. There was somebody who fed you very quickly because you needed food right as soon as you were born. There was somebody who, as you grew up, gave you education. There was somebody who gave you clothes, maybe not the best clothes, maybe not the best education, but somebody took care of you. Even if you had bad parenting or bad education or bad situations in life, you're still alive, right now. That's a miracle in itself. And you think of it, you could have been killed before this session even, but you're alive right now. So why not celebrate that and understand that these forces which have taken care of us so far now will also take care of us in the future. And also that these forces that have taken care of us so far will also take care of our loved ones. So if you remember, one of the fears that people have, what will happen to my loved ones after I'm dead and gone? Yeah, you think of it, did you create your own spouse? Did you go to a laboratory or some, I don't know, garage or something and put your spouse together, hands, legs, yeah, and kidney, liver? No, you didn't. Right? They existed even before you met them, right? Yeah, your spouse existed before you knew them, knew her or him. Yeah, somebody was taking care of them. Some force of the universe was taking care of them. So the same force that took care of them till they met you, why would they not take care of you after you're dead and gone? Yeah. And the same forces, why will they not take care of you when they are dead and gone and you are left behind? Right? Agreed? Now, the problem in all of this is to understand that our fears come from attachment, as somebody had shared in the beginning. And attachment, we have talked many times in different sessions. But attachment is the root cause of all suffering that we have. If we can somehow figure it out for ourselves, that attachment is a negative energy, and it is not to be confused with love, which is a positive energy. Love frees, love liberates. Attachment pulls people, pulls things to us. It does not allow the liberation, it does not allow growth, it does not allow development. So we have to understand that if we truly love people, we would be ready to liberate them, not to get them stuck on us, or not to stick ourselves to them so that both of us then become useless. And I give this example many times, that for just a silly example, but if somebody puts a lot of quick or something on this chair that I'm sitting on, and then I come and sit on it. Now I'm stuck to this chair, right? If somebody rings the bell, I can't go and open the door because I'm stuck to this chair. So I'm useless now, right? But at the same time, this chair also becomes useless. No one else can ever sit on it. Even if somehow I'm able to free myself from this, I'm going to lose a lot of my skin. I'll need skin grafting, but also the chair will become useless. It will need another layer of cloth or fabric or leather or whatever it is. So you see, when we are attached to others, then we destroy ourselves and we destroy the other. We render ourselves useless, we render the others useless too. So when we start to trust the forces of the universe, then we are able to free ourselves of attachment. And also in that process, we are able to free others of their attachment to us. For me, the good thing was that so many years of meditation has helped me. When I'm at work, I tell the patients when they are scared about death, I talk some of these things. Many times there is no time, but I sometimes talk to the family members when we have to, when the patient is comatose and we don't know what to do. And I would talk to the family member about what needs to be done and so on and so forth. But also for my own family members, my own dad and my mom, I had the opportunity to actually release them, if you will. Yeah, the so many years of meditation helped me detach myself from them and help them, serve them, take care of them medically, financially, physically, as much as needed and whatever was needed. But for my dad, like I told him, he was, there I could feel this, I could sense that he was having these thoughts of how or what will happen to my mom and my sister and so on and so forth after he's dead. And I told him one day that before his death, that, just don't worry, I'll take care of them. And even if something happens to me, there's a force in the universe. You want to call it God, you want to call it whatever you like, but that force will take care of mom and your daughter as well. That's my sister. And then I found that in the next few days, he started to get more relaxed and he was able to leave very peacefully. In fact, he was agnostic. He was, yeah, quite a bit not believing in God at all, but I would call him an agnostic rather than an atheist. And my mom, later, 2 years later, when she developed, so in fact, immediately after my dad died, then my mom also was diagnosed with cancer, and it was metastasized already at the time when we discovered it. And so she was told 6 months, and then, but she went on to live for 2 years. I spent quite a bit of time with her, and all the time, I would find her thinking about my sister now. She'll be alone. You've got to take care of her. This, that. I said, why are you worried? Yeah, I gave you the permission to die. I actually told her these words. Mom, if you are at all thinking, I give you the permission to die. Yeah, go. And actually, I would sit with her. I would help her visualize her death. I would say, practice leaving your body. You, the soul, you are a separate entity from this body. You are eternal, you are immortal. This body will wither away for all of us, no matter what. Yeah, the most beautiful body on this planet will also wither away. Yeah, and the ugliest body will also wither away. The tallest, the shortest, the fattest, the thinnest, everything is going to wither away. But the soul is eternal. So visualize this, see the soul as a separate entity and the soul leaving the body. And she started doing that on a regular basis. And you have to believe me that she died very peacefully too, literally like a saint, very quietly, very calmly, and she left her body. So constant reminder that I helped her through of who she really is, that she cannot die. It is the soul that moves on, the body withers away and goes back to the soil, and the fact that the universe will take care of everything else. Yeah, that has to be taken care of. Yeah, think of it again, going back to this trusting the universe. What do you control around you anyways? Do you control the change of seasons? Do you control the change of day from to night or night to day? Yeah, tell me, do you? Do you control the blossoming of flowers? Do you control when the fruits show up? Yeah. What do you control really? Yeah, we are control freaks, but truly think of it, what do you control? So when we start to trust the universe, then our fears begin to go away, dissolve into thin air. Yeah. So this is how you can help your loved ones transition too. You can give them a lot of love. You see the attachment that we have, the fear that we have, the loneliness, anxiety that we have when our loved ones will leave us, pulls them back, doesn't allow them to transition in a peaceful way. Because think of it in this way, that the soul on one hand is pulled towards the next lifetime. This body has withered away. There's a finite time in this body. Yet when the lease is over, then this, the tenant has to leave, right? The landlord would say, otherwise you'll be evicted from this apartment. So the tenant has to leave and go. So the soul has to leave on one hand, and on the other hand, our attachment pulls us back. So if we can, think of it in that situation, it will be almost like a state of limbo for the soul. Yeah, we create stress and trouble for the soul as it is transitioning. So if we can somehow figure out for ourselves that we need to have love for the soul, which is a positive energy, rather than attachment. And how can we have that is when we understand that we are souls. We're not these bodies. We stay in the spiritual dimension of our existence. We're able to be love and therefore give love. Yeah, we are able to get rid of attachment completely. In that detached state, we're able to give pure love to the soul, and the soul can then transition easily. Yeah, so going back to these 6 fears of death. Also, yeah, so I didn't talk about the fear of dying alone, right? You are never alone. And I want to talk about this in a moment, but before that, rest of the 5, do you feel that I have answered each of these to your satisfaction? Do you think? Fear of the uncertainty of what lies after death. Now you're not uncertain, right? You are clear in your mind what will happen after death. Everybody's clear? So no fear there. Agreed? Yeah? All right, let's move on to the second, the fear of pain and suffering during the actual process. And I can tell you, there's no research or anything that I publish or anything, but I've seen it with my own eyes. People really don't suffer at the time when they leave their bodies. Yeah, even when you do chest compressions on people, yeah, you will find that, and people, these near death experiences people have shared, that even when chest compressions are being done on the patient, procedures are being done trying to revive the body, the soul does not feel any pain. The soul just sees the body lying there, and doctors trying to revive it, giving it shocks, this, that. Really, the soul doesn't feel it. Yeah, so I been able to allay that anxiety, that fear too for you? Happy? Huh? Let's go to the next one. Fear of leaving loved ones behind and fear of loneliness when a loved one dies, right? This is clear for you? that you don't have to be afraid. The same forces which have taken care of you and them so far will take care of you and them tomorrow too. Right? Fear of not achieving anything substantial before dying. And we understood from the law of karma, right? If you do the right thing every moment, there won't be this desire to live more, to do more good things, because you've already done your fair share of goodness. Every moment you're living in that state of being of goodness. Yeah, so you have that feeling of what we call as Maslow's self-actualization. You live that actualization, right? You have risen above the mundane things, and you are in a state of giving every moment to people around you and to the world at large. And so there is, in a way, also to understand that how much achieving is enough in the physical world. Yeah, physical world, you can never achieve enough. Yeah, if you buy two cars, there's a desire for buying the third car, or a better car, a bigger house, a better vacation, a better cell phone, better clothes. It just never ends. So rather than looking for achieving something in this physical dimension, achieving in the spiritual dimension is what will give us the sense of fulfillment. When we serve others with unconditional love, when we are respectful to others for their needs, when we are able to transcend our own selfishness and give to others, yeah, in that state of pure consciousness, then we will have achieved enough. Yeah, then the fear of this fifth fear will not be valid at all. And then the sixth fear of dying alone. I haven't put it here. I deleted that slide because I thought it will be quite a bit for you all. But there is a lot that is now happening, a lot of research now happening in end of life experiences. They call it as EOL experiences. So NDE experiences and end of life EOL experiences, where researchers are, and there's one very famous researcher I've forgotten, who has done a lot of study on these people, hospice patients who are in the process of dying in the next several months, few months to maybe a year. And he would do extensive interviews and ask them about their fears and so on and so forth. And they were sharing that very close to um, when they are about to die, they feel as if their ancestors or people who have died, or angels, if you will, come to visit them again and again, time and again. Yeah, these experiences have been shared by the people, and he shared this in a larger group, where yeah, this researcher was talking about all of these experiences of these people, where they would say that when it's like they had a lot of fear of death for a long time, and then one day they were visited by their grandmother or mother who had died, or brother or somebody else, and the feeling that they all suddenly showed up. Yeah, and they said that tomorrow morning we're going to take you, or something of that sort. So in any case, even if you're alone, yeah, say in the worst case scenario that someone is diagnosed with coronavirus, and has to be hospitalized and in real bad shape, goes downhill, and then has to die, and his or her family cannot come there. It's okay even if that family is not there physically. But if you understand, what happens is the soul enters into that quantum field, yeah, spontaneously as the soul leaves the body. And in that, there is total connectedness. If you remember, yeah, in that quantum world, everything is connected to everything, because all of us in the quantum world are just pure consciousness, pure energy. So in that, we are all connected with each other. So the soul is able to find a connection to its loved ones, whether of a previous lifetime, this lifetime, or those who have died, ancestors, whatever. They all come to help the soul as it transitions. So clearly the fear of dying goes away for all of them. Right? Agreed? Yes, so all of these fears I have made it clear that they are really not substantial and they are in a way irrational. Yeah. But at the same time, I also want to say that on one hand, yeah, preparing for death would be living as if we were to die tomorrow and learning as if we were to live forever. So we live every moment of our lives on one hand with complete detachment, but at the same time living it to the fullest extent. By fullest extent, I don't mean physically that we are partying and doing all the physical, sensual things, but living from that state of being which is mm, designed, if you will, which as a default is has been created to serve. That's when we're going to have the maximum benefit of our lives. But if you go back to those near-death experiences, you see, on one hand, what beautiful experiences all of these people had, yeah, when they were dying and when they came back. The transition was so beautiful. But if you look at Anita Moorjani's example, the dying or that experience of near death was all actually a healing experience. Healing to the extent that her whole body, yeah, recovered from that cancer which was going to kill her, that had completely shut off all her body functions. Yeah. So think of it, can we experience the same kind of healing while we are at this time practicing dying? Is there a possibility? Do you think? Do you think we can have, if you will, um, a simulated near-death experience for each one of us? Yeah, can we create that for ourselves? A simulated near-death experience. Would you like to have that? Do you feel inspired to have that? Yeah, by listening to all these near-death experiences, don't you have this feeling that I wish I could have that near-death experience too? Yeah, agreed? Everybody agrees? Yeah, I would have so much of feeling. I would have zero fear of death after that. I will be much more kind, much more compassionate human being. I would have much more connection to everyone around me if I had that near-death experience like these people. But although if we have or not have, that's not in our hands, but we can create a simulated near-death experience for ourselves. Yeah. And that's what we do in Raj Yoga. We call it as outer body experience, which is not really, we don't call it outer body experience, but in science they call it as an outer body experience. But we do this experimentation and experiencing of leaving this body or transcending. We don't necessarily call it death, we call it as transcending our bodies. Yeah, and we are going to do that experience now for all of us if you want. But before that, let me pause for a little bit and listen to things from you. I see some people have. Yeah, Kanishta, can you help me out here? So reincarnation in Hinduism is that one can rebirth as other species. Yeah. So, but hopefully I've helped you understand that why this whole thing was created in organized religion. Yeah, to deter us from doing wrong things. That, hey, you know what, you're going to be born as a dog in your next life. But you see, on the other hand, we human beings behave like dogs, right? Sometimes we behave like animals many times, right? They say that human beings behave as worse animals than animals themselves. Yeah, or animals behave in more human ways than humans themselves. Yeah, so think of it, if we do wrong actions, Yeah, and you see how dogs and how cattle and how pigs are kept in pens and all these, makeshift places, and they're reared there. It is very possible that if I do wrong actions in my this life, in my next life I may not be living a free life. Maybe I will be born in a country where freedom is not a privilege. Freedom is a privilege, where you one usually lives in a very bad state of affairs. It's very possible, and that kind of life would be a life of a cattle, life of a pig, a life of a dog. And so that's how organized religion has created this fear. Yeah, but it is not possible for a human soul to go and reincarnate as anything other than a human. Then Kalyani, I guess, has said one quick story. One of my patients had a near-death experience. She explained exactly what you described. She was so unhappy why doctors brought her back to life on Earth. She never felt connected to this world after this experience. Her family thought that she was very depressed. The patient was longing to go back to that eternal world, to that experience, to the new experience, right? So, what I inspire all of you to do is to let go of this fear of death, but to look at death in one way as something inevitable, but at the same time as a lie, that we cannot really die. We are souls, we are eternal, we move from one body to the other. But also look at death from a very humorous point of view, if you will, or even better still, from a curiosity point of view. What will it be? Yeah, how will it be? And what is going to happen in my next life? For my mom, I did this quite a bit, that I would tell her that, you see, now your body is already in a bad shape. Yeah, your entire body is literally rotting, with all the cancer everywhere. And you're going to leave this body and you're going to take a fresh new birth. A small baby, such a beautiful baby, such beautiful eyes, such beautiful skin, such thin, soft hair, and such lovely tiny nails and tiny fingers, tiny toes. And yes, I used to tell her all this, and she started creating those images for herself and started feeling very happy. And that's what helped her transition. So this is something that you can use to help your patients transition if you are in that kind of um, setting, or your care as a caregiver, the person in your family or person around you who is suffering, you can help them transition by giving them the permission to go as well, but also for yourself. Yeah, yeah, you can practice the art of dying. Yeah, so far so good. Was that too heavy? Was that good enough? Any questions? Mhm. Any thoughts? Any comments? Yeah, so is somebody has asked, I'm still baffled between love and attachment, specifically when we are surrounded in this world with some deep relationships. I let me share a story that I heard long back in childhood. This was actually part of our curriculum, our education, our English language, and I think it was fourth or fifth grade when we had this story where there is this princess who wakes up in the morning one day and finds a beautiful bird at her windowsill of her beautiful castle. And that bird starts to sing very beautifully as she wakes up and sees the bird. And so, of course, the princess is very happy, very attracted to the bird, and the bird would fly away later after singing the song, would come back the next day, and actually would, in a way, wake up the princess with its beautiful song every morning, but would never stay there, would fly away after that. So some of these friends of the princess one day said to the princess, "Oh, such a beautiful bird! You should capture it and put it in a cage because it is very possible that it may not come back tomorrow. Then you will miss him or her, and it is also possible that there could be eagles and vultures that could prey on that bird." And so she says, "Yeah, that sounds like a good plan." So next day when the bird comes and it catches the bird, she catches the bird and puts it in the cage. But now the bird is not happy. The bird wanted the wide blue sky to fly and to flap its wings around. And now in the cage, it becomes depressed and stops singing, and then eventually stops eating and drinking. And then one day when she wakes up, she sees that the bird is lying at the bottom of the cage, and she feels very bad. She realizes her mistake, takes the bird out and puts it at the windowsill and says, "Sorry, I apologize for trying to hold on to you. Yeah, please come back and please, come back to life and fly away." And the bird does come back to life and flies away. And she feels that now this bird is never going to come back. And she goes to sleep that night. Next day wakes up and the bird is again at the windowsill, singing a beautiful song for her. So the more we hold on to others, the more we squeeze the life out of others. That is attachment. Attachment is because of our own fears, fear of loneliness, fear of inadequacy. Yeah. Love comes from a state of fullness, a state of abundance, when we need nothing or no one to make us feel complete. You see, husband and wife, when they get into relationships, the boy searches for things in the girl which he feels will fulfill his needs. The girl looks for things, the boy, that she feels will fulfill her needs. So nobody gets married for the other person. Everyone gets married for themselves. So it's our needs that have to be fulfilled. Yeah, there is emptiness within, and that hope is that that relationship or even some physical object will complete that emptiness, will fill that emptiness, make us feel whole and complete again. But it never happens. Yeah, it's like a beggar asking another beggar, and both remain beggars, both snatching money from each other. It doesn't help. Yeah. So love is the understanding that we are full, we are complete, we are whole. We are children of one God, and or that powerful entity that we will talk about tomorrow more. That we can tap into that energy, fill ourselves completely, and then we can give. Yeah. Does that help you enough?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Most welcome. Anybody else would like to ask or say something? But these are very valid questions.
Yeah, and you go deep, so it's very profound too. It's, yeah.
Yeah, good, good. Yeah, wonderful. I'm glad it's helping you. Yeah, this session was intended to be deep. Session was intended to be kind of serious, if you will, because death is serious, life is serious too. Yeah, but if we live it in the right way, we master life. Just like, for example, if you bicycle, yeah, do you bicycle? Do you have a bike? Yeah, and if you have mastered biking, then you're not scared of it, right? You can bike while you're enjoying the beauty of nature and everything, right? You don't have to be scared. So similarly, if you understand life and death, yeah, completely, yeah, in a serious way, then you can enjoy life and you can enjoy death too. Yeah.
There, there was
No,
a lady.
what's that?
There was a lady that had asked a while ago, how could she free herself from the cycle of birth? And you said you were going to answer at the end.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yes, okay. Yeah, but we are getting close to the end, and we would have to have some meditation. But if everybody is okay, I will answer that. But uh, before that, when I said enjoy life and enjoy death, yeah, I saw a little change in expression for you. Yeah, but is that for everyone too? Do you think that it's not possible to enjoy death?
No, it's possible. I think after what you've shared about what an enriching, beautiful experience it could be,
Yeah.
I think we are heading towards that. I think, yeah.
Yes, we can. And we have to. That way it will become truly an enjoyable experience. Yeah. All right. Wonderful. So coming back to that question, yeah, in a way, um, it is a deeper question that will need much more of build up to be able to answer that. So what I inspire you to do, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to circumvent that question. Yeah, I don't mean to ignore your question. I want to respect your question, but I want to say that it will be best answered if when you take the Raj Yoga course, the free Raj Yoga meditation course that we offer, you can do that, and
Sure.
then this question will be answered: how we can free ourselves from this birth death cycle. It is not, honestly, it's not possible for me to share in this. It won't make sense to anyone, and it could confuse you even more.
That's okay. I'm okay. Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. So now if we don't have any more questions or comments, yes, somebody else has, I guess, Kanishka typed something here. It's possible, right? Wonderful. Yeah, Kalyani has shared. It is possible. All right, wonderful. So Kanisha, would you like to take us through an experience? Mhm. A beautiful near-death experience, a simulated one.
Everyone is ready for this?
Yeah,
No
yeah,
fear,
nice one.
right? No
No
fear.
fear. Yeah. And take us into the light, and help us see the light, and help us experience the love of that light, and that total acceptance and unconditional love, and that feeling of healing that all of these people described in their near-death experiences. Yeah. Once again, somebody has said, yeah, I think yes, it's doable with the practice. Yeah, so to make death as an enjoyable experience. Wonderful.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard anybody else do a session like this, right, on death. And this is one of its kind. And I don't know. And uh, I, I, I sincerely feel that we all need to be educated about this.
Oh,
And
yeah.
unless there is education, we won't really be able to free ourselves from that fear. And this fear is agonizing, this fear is crippling, it's destroying your happiness, it's destroying your body. Yeah, the acid that is created because of the fear of death is what eventually is creating all the diseases in your body. So you've got to free yourself from that fear. That's why this session.
And I cannot thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for your patience, for your time, your investing. Gosh, I couldn't have been more thankful than this.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your thanking. Yeah, and really taking this in the right way. I appreciate that, because it's not easy to understand this, and it requires a lot of maturity. And since you are taking it in the right way, I can tell you that you are a very mature person, and all of you, a very mature person. All
So
right.
what exactly is Raj Yoga? What is done in Raj Yoga?
Yeah, Kanishta, why don't you take this question? Yeah, a few minutes, and then take us to the experience.
You know, you're spoiling us. We could keep asking you questions the entire evening till you tell us to just shut up.
No, no, we have no problems. Honestly, I just want to respect your time, but no, you're welcome to ask as many questions. And in fact, this is what we want, that there is more conversation, there is interaction. People go with some substantial information and understanding. Yeah, Kanishta, you want to take that question?
So like Shitang said, that you will have to take the course to really understand what Raj Yoga meditation is about. But in essence, I can tell you that there are two words here, Raja and Yoga. Raja means king and Yoga means connection. So when you learn Raj Yoga meditation, you learn how to become a king of your own self by making that right connection. How you can make your mind your slave. Nowadays, what has happened,
Kanisha,
mind
one
has become...
second. Can you keep your microphone in a way that this microphone part, yeah, is not touching your clothes?
I can take this out. I don't have to use it. Is it clear?
It was clear even before. I mean, I could hear you very clearly.
But just sit like this, Kanisha. Like hold it in your hand if you can.
I don't have to use the mic if it is clear.
Okay.
Okay. So it is clear for everyone, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, it's clear.
Yeah, what I was telling, that what has happened over time, that our mind has become our boss. But in Raj Yoga meditation, we learn how to master our own mind, how to become a king of our own mind, how we can have that kind of control so that our mind starts to listen to us. What happens in today's world, we don't want to think something, but still negative thoughts, they come and they disturb us a lot. Why? Because there is no control. So Raj Yoga meditation teaches us how to direct our mind in the right direction. It's like educating our own mind, what to think. That's what is Raj Yoga meditation about. So we take you through the steps, how to train your own mind. You know, we see our mind like a small baby, small child. Think about it. If a child is not trained how to behave, child will not be able to behave properly. Child will in fact start to misbehave. So similarly, our mind has become like that. We have never trained our mind how to think, what not to think. So in Raj Yoga meditation, we talk about all this. Okay, is this enough for now?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
But because you are so much interested, I inspire you to take the course, because you will come to know many more things about who you are. And that's the basic foundation of Raj Yoga meditation, understanding who you are, about the cycle, about the karma, about
It's life
God.
transforming. It's life transforming.
You get the whole package. Okay.
What
So
can
now,
be better than free, right? It's free. The question now is, are you free?
True.
okay. So let's now, you have been listening to a lot of things, a lot of information. So now we can take this moment to really experience who we truly are, to really experience that new reality, that you are not what you see with your physical eyes, this physical body. So let's together take this journey to experience that beautiful being, that pure consciousness that I am. So for a few moments, let go of everything of this physical world. it's very important to let go of all the attachments in order to experience who you truly are. This body is like a cage, and the soul is trapped in this body. And the soul is always looking for that freedom. How a bird is so happy flying in the open sky. Similarly, soul is also like a bird. And so the soul has been longing for this experience of freedom. So for a few moments, visualize as if this bird, the soul, is released from the cage of your body. Away from this physical world, the soul is heading towards a beautiful world of light. That real world of consciousness, world that is free from any kind of fear. There is no fear, not even a trace of fear in this world. The soul is completely liberated. See yourself in this world where you are surrounded by gold and red light. You are free here, and this world is completely free from any kind of noise. It's a silent world, and this silence is enabling you to experience that true peace, that true love, that true happiness that you have been looking for. So in this space of complete silence, absorb the power of silence, the power of peace. And experience the unconditional love, the kind of love that you have never experienced before. This is your time to really absorb this positive, unconditional love. This is what heals the soul. This is the place to heal. This is a place to recharge. Soul is like a battery, and this battery has been very badly discharged because of the negative forces from the physical world. Now you have come to the safe place where you can recharge yourself and heal. So absorb the light, this golden red light that is filled with tremendous amount of positive energy. And having absorbed this energy, bring yourself back once again to this physical world, this dimension where the soul has to take the support of this body. And the soul is here in this body for a very special purpose. And the purpose is to share that true love, that true peace, and that true happiness with everyone else. So now you see yourself sharing only and only positivity with everyone. And the more you share, the more you generate positivity. As per the law of karma, whatever you give, that's what you receive. So you give love and you get love. You give peace and you get back peace. So see yourself constantly performing this elevated action of healing the self and healing everyone else around you. When you heal, you can heal the whole world. Oh, Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Kaisha. So we will meet tomorrow at 9 o'clock for the final session of this retreat, and see if you can do that exercise if you haven't done it already. And tomorrow we'll have the chance for some sharing. All right. We look forward to another session with all of you, right? Okay.
Anybody wants to share anything before we end today's session?
No, I just wanted to ask, is from 9 to what time tomorrow?
9 to about 10:30ish.
To 10:30?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
yes, I think Kalyani has said, I felt Raj Yoga meditation gave me knowledge about my true self and my original identity to serve myself and others. Thanks so much for this enlightening discussion. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, if no one else, yeah.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Our pleasure. All right.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock. If you can join just a couple of minutes before 9, then we can start promptly at 9.
Okay.
Om
Thanks.
Shanti.
Thank you.
Om Shanti.